tonight, Miami Commissioner Joe Coro was put on notice. U.S. Marshals beginning the process of repossessing his assets.
You're done, and there's nowhere you can run. 63.5 million in assets. The Marshals are gonna take them.
Which arm do you want to take blood from?
Your bed, shelves full of books you've never read. The box you threw at your wife's head. You know it. The Marshals are gonna take them.
I've been an honest public servant.
The ladder that you fell off of, George Wallace paraphernalia. Your DVDs of cuckold porn.
Bring the firing squad.
The Marshals are gonna take them tonight.
I do have some furniture.
You're screwed. Now nothing here belongs to you. Your Twinkies and your Charleston chew. You big baby. The Marshals are gonna take them.
Some of my underwears, my socks.
Each one of your bikini finger pumps. Your comically large swimming trunks. Dear Lordy, the Marshals are gonna take them.
I don't have money to pay.
Your old U of M windbreaker, your hideous Buick Encore, Marjorie's Orisha candle.
This is so biased.
The Marshals are gonna take them tonight.
I would have to go somewhere, maybe in the street, with a tent or something.
Your sectional and your bar stools, your coffee table and vacuum. The Marshals are taking those too.
This is not fair. This is America.
Your fourth wife is gonna leave you. Good night.
This is very, very unpleasant.
Roy, while you were in Vegas at the Super Bowl, I celebrating a Super Bowl of my own here in Miami.
Wife be eater.
I'm so petty.
Little Billy Corben.
So, yes, the U.S. Marshals, while you were away, while we were on hiatus, went to Joe Carollo's house and put a notice of levy on the door informing him that they are indeed going to begin the process of seizing his property to satisfy the $63.5 million corruption judgment against him for weaponizing city government to target the Little Havana business owners who own, among other things, the very popular and historic Ball and Chain Bar on Calle Ocho. And there might be some footage out there, if you're watching the video version of this program, where I was caught outside of Joe's house while this was happening, cackling my little ass off.
This is on your little Twitter account, little Billy.
I mean, the feds brought the black Chevy Suburbans and everything, man. They were ready to go.
Full drama. I mean, this telenovela, man.
I'm hoping not, but I'm ready.
The pettiness, the sheer pettiness.
Listen,
is just,
how often is it that justice is done like this, that bad things happen to bad people? You know, like, this is long overdue. This man has been a cancer on this community. Bullying his wife, his daughters, the citizens and residents of Miami for 40 years. I mean, his time has come. Your boy, Joe Coro.
Oh, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that.
In God we trust.
I mean, so this has been an incredible, we have a lot of catching up to do. We're going to talk to Sarah Blaskey, the Pulitzer Prize-winning investigative journalist from the Miami Herald, about what's been going on in Miami. We're going to talk to Jason Garcia about what the hell is going on up in the Florida state capital, Ron DeSantis' free state of Florida. But Joe Coro is the big story here. You know what else is the big story we got to do while we're doing, shameless victory laps?
What's that, Billy?
Thanks to the team here at Meadowlark, we've been doing this limited podcast called The Real Griselda with Michael Corleone Blanco, Griselda Blanco, the godmother of cocaine's youngest son, yes, named for that Michael Corleone from The Godfather. And thanks to this Griselda effect on Netflix, Cocaine Cowboys has been like number one in the Google's top 10 most searched documentary movies on streaming. And this podcast has been fantastic. The response has been amazing, just kind of talking about where the Netflix thing went wrong, where it went right, and then what the real story was, and hearing it from Michael and seeing kind of clips and deleted scenes from the Cocaine Cowboys documentaries. It's been really the response has been overwhelming, and I want to thank everyone for going to cocainecowboys.com and checking it out, and thanks to everyone here at Meadowlark who helped make it happen.
Anything I could do to help, Billy.
Roy, I meant Jason and GQ.
What?
That's what I meant.
What do you mean?
I meant the people
I was here too.
who actually produced and directed the thing for us here at Meadowlark.
Well, you're welcome anyway.
Thank you, Roy, as always. And shit gets real with Michael Corleone Blanco. I ask him finally as the series winds down what his mother, Griselda Blanco, thought of our documentary Cocaine Cowboys when it came out almost 20 years ago. When Cocaine Cowboys, the first documentary, started circulating, what was your mother's reaction to the documentary?
She was mad. I said, Mom, what if they're going to cut a check? She said, nope, no fucking check, cease and desist, or do you want me to send somebody to go say hi to them? Yeah, Billy, you almost got that knock on the door.
Griselda.
The dramatic music got me.
Griselda is the one who knocks, Roy. Griselda is the one who knocks, and the U.S. Marshals were the ones who knocked on Joe Carollo's door. You see what I did there?
Laughing in his
You see what I did there?
You're pettiness, man.
You see what I did there? You know what, Roy? It's not just me.
Somebody else laughed?
It's a conspiracy of the entire court system, apparently, where he is losing every single motion and every single lawsuit. It is a conspiracy of the media, I guess, for telling the truth about him and his corruption. The latest is he tried to go to the court and say, hey, will you delay the seizure of my house while I figure out what's going on here? And the judge was like, no, thank you. Nah. Judge Rodney Smith, who presided over the month-long corruption case last year, he is already done, absolutely done with this guy. And he's like, no. He's like, you owe this money. Start paying it. I mean, you're never going to be able to pay $63.5 million. So give him your house. Give him your drawers. Give him your underwear. Give him your... I'm going to go to an auction, Roy, and I'm going to buy Joe's mother's costume jewelry, and I'm going to wear it all to the next city commission meeting like Walter Mercado. Okay, I'm gonna buy a cape too. Does anybody know where I can buy a cape, like a Walter Mercado style?
I'm sure we have something in
cape.
wardrobe.
I have no doubt that you do. Something from the Greg Cody collection. I'm sure there is a cape. But and now they're also the plaintiffs who won this judgment against him. They want to go through his fourth wife, Marjorie's financials too, because they're alleging fraud that Joe moved assets and money to his wife, her name, her accounts, her business, and they want to be able to examine that too. And I got to tell you, that motion is pending, and I think that's going to go their way as well. Here's the funny thing about these motions and lawsuits that Joe keeps losing. His lawyers keep winning. Why? Because they keep billing the Miami taxpayers for every hour they waste on these losing, frivolous, defective motions. So, as they say in litigation, the only people who win in litigation are the lawyers. And that's no difference here because they're playing with the house's money. They don't care. There's total perverse incentives here because they're like, hey, any other client, we'd say, hey, listen, we have to be selective about this. We're going to lose this motion. We shouldn't appeal this. We have to be strategic. Here, they don't care. They file crap for everything, bill the taxpayers, lose it, and keep going. It's really deplorable. And speaking of deplorable, we tried to warn you last year. Remember this character, Sabina Kovo?
That's right.
She was a city commissioner for 9 months. Well, 9 months is all it took, Roy, for this to happen.
Sabina Coro lost Miami's District 2 commission seat last November, but what she did as the incumbent is now under investigation.
We all ran against the problem that's there at City Hall, which is the corruption piece.
That's former candidate James Torres on Because Miami's podcast after last November's elections. He talked about Coro coming to him for his support in her runoff.
What is it going to take? And can I offer you a position at the Omni CRA as a contractor making over $120,000?
Coro was chair of that CRA.
We're auditing right now where we stand with the Omni CRA.
She became chair when then Commissioner Alex Diaz de la Portilla was charged with corruption and suspended.
I was taken aback by that because I'm like, is this the right thing? Like, doesn't sit. It was just weird.
And if true, possibly illegal, which may be why Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office launched an investigation for allegations of remuneration by candidate for services, support, etc., and bribery.
That's right. In just 9 months serving as a City of Miami commissioner, she is already under investigation for bribery. And as you heard on that Local 10 WPLG report from Glenna Milberg, the story, if this is what the investigation is all about, was broken right here in this very room, Roy.
Nice shout out. And by the way, the video, nice little call out to Ron McGill because the sign was in the background.
Oh, yeah. You see, very, very prominent Ron McGill cameo in that clip. And that's, I mean, listen, this is what we do here, Roy. So we take a victory lap. I don't know that any crime was committed here. This is obviously like a he said, they said. But the evidence, circumstantial evidence so far is pretty compelling that it looked like, based on what former candidate James Torres told us on this very program last November, there might have been a quid pro bro going on here in the city of Miami, if you can believe it, Ryan. I'm glad you're sitting down because you seem stunned by this revelation.
I can't believe it.
And listen, we tried to warn Miami about this. And incidentally, Miami listened because she was unelected last November after that Because Miami episode, which aired on Friday, and the following Tuesday was the runoff election. So over the weekend, I think that story greatly impacted the early voting and ultimately the election day voting for the runoff. And but we're sort of like OGs on this.
Yeah, all it took was a song.
Well, do you remember? Do you remember what we warned? Do you remember what we told folks?
Say no to Covo.
Just say novo to Covo.
Commissioner Coro, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? You don't know it?
Endorsed by the Dems of Miami-Dade, where they're obviously comfy with more of the same freaking bozos. B-O-Z-O bozos. She's completely unqualified for this gig. Yeah, she's just DLP in a fancy wig. Oh, that's Covo. Please don't vote for Covo. No, don't vote for Covo.
You know what? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. I don't even know.
Well, we're not the world's most intelligent folk, but you gotta use your head and you must be informed as a voter. Voter. She's ignored the corruption inside City Hall. Yeah, her silence helped it turn into a free-for-all thanks to Covo. Please don't vote for Covo. It's a vote for Coro. He's that guy who beat his wife.
I have hit women.
I have no idea. I don't know. I don't even know.
Well, she serves a special interest in the lobbyists, and she doesn't know the Pledge of Allegiance. She's a dirty liar, and she's all veneer. She's there for Christian over to puppeteer. When it comes to commissioner for District 2, I'm not asking you politely, I am telling you, don't vote Covo. Please don't vote for Covo. No, don't vote for Covo.
I have no idea.
Following the State of the City speech, the mayor's movements were managed, protected, directed. He would take questions from one reporter at a time behind closed doors.
Do you think those companies would have you on the payroll if you were not in a position of power in the city of Miami?
So again, your question already has a flawed premise that I'm working for 12 companies.
The mayor suggested I and others did not do enough homework, jumped to wrong conclusions. To respect that position, I rephrased the question.
I'm done. I'm done. Thank you. I'm done.
One company.
I'm done.
One company that's hired you, do you think they might have if you were not the mayor?
There would be no more questions, and none at all for Miami Herald reporters who had been waiting their turn.
You talked about transparency, but what about transparency in your own private business? Mayor Suarez, is there a reason you don't want to talk to the Miami Herald today?
That was Miami Herald investigative reporter Sarah Blaskey giving chase to Miami Mayor Francis Suarez at the recent State of the City address. She is joining us now. Sarah, was there a reason that Mayor Suarez did not want to answer questions from the Miami Herald after having given interviews to every single TV station in town?
Well, if there was, he didn't give us that reason. He didn't speak to us at all that day or any day subsequently. So what I can tell you is that the Miami Herald had published an investigation that morning into another one of the more than a dozen side jobs this part-time mayor has held over the past 2 years. And in this case, it was a small tech company that had big dreams and very little to show for it at that point, that was trying to make a partnership behind closed doors. And it turns out it was trying to make a partnership with a different company, more established, that was in the process of negotiating a business relationship with the city of Miami. But not just that, that would already be a potential problem, right? The mayor's company, the city of Miami. But in this case, it was actually the mayor's office that was pushing this software sale on the city. And mind you, it was for a software that was for something the city was already doing. It was a completely redundant service. The city didn't need it, but yet the mayor's office was pushing it. And if that's not enough, there is one final point to this story, which is that while the mayor's office is pushing this software for this company, N0, it is also the mayor's chief of staff at the time is actively engaged behind closed doors on his city email, on city time, also promoting the private partnership between that company and a company called Redivider, which Mayor Suarez is paid about $220,000 a year to be a consultant for that company and is a tiny minority owner of the company. So he had a lot to gain from anything that would benefit that company, a partnership, a lucrative business deal from the city, et cetera. That was the story we were trying to ask him about that day at the State of the City.
And that Glenna Milberg from WPLG Local 10 that you heard there was trying to ask him about as well, your story. And this just seems to be another in the litany of alleged conflicts of interest in which Mayor Francis Suarez is exploiting his public position for private profit, often in this case, even appearing as though he is working as an unregistered lobbyist within the city, and also enlisting people in his office, in his public office, I should say, to do that as well. Investigators are looking into Francis Suarez's very lucrative side hustles. Another story you wrote earlier last month ahead of the State of the City. That is a result in no small part of your investigation called Shakedown City from late last year that detailed some of these allegations, including one in which it appears as though the mayor might be working as an unregistered foreign agent. So the hits just keep on coming. It's no wonder that he tried to get his steps in running away from you at the State of the City. But that wasn't all for Miami Mayor. Here's the cart machine, Roy. It's hiding behind my laptop. Hang on,
Oh, you found it.
I found it.
I tried to hide it.
I've been hiding it from. Sorry, just getting sure we've been on hiatus. You know, I'm just stretching here. Sarah Blaskey, your most recent story, SuperPAC backing Mayor Suarez's presidential bid. I have to laugh, of course, when you say presidential bid.
runs for president.
So obviously, Mayor Suarez has received, deservedly so, a lot of scorn for this presidential campaign, which is one of the shortest and most embarrassing in the history of the United States. And we were all wondering, what is this really all about? Is this a money grab? Is this some kind of laundering operation? What the hell is going on here? And it seems like what you've dug up isn't really very compelling in terms of I would say, the legitimacy of the operation, because it seems like there was money being made, but it wasn't necessarily being spent on the campaign. What is this most recent report?
Sure. So there's the campaigns, right, for president, and then there are the super PACs that make all the money. They can raise unlimited sums, right? And in the case of Francis Suarez, the super PAC was called SOS America. And so that super PAC, we just got the federal financial disclosures from that PAC. There's a huge delay. So the campaign ended 6 months ago, and we just found out about some of the spending from the super PAC backing the campaign. And the top line item here is that the super PAC spent more on a single fundraising consultant. So, a person that goes out and tries to raise money for the super PAC usually spent more on the consultant than the super PAC actually raised.
What?
So, right. So generally, there's all kinds of ways for this to happen, but often consultants make a percentage of what the total fundraising
So
effort,
it's like a commission.
10%, 15%. It's a commission.
Okay.
There
that's
might
fair.
be a flat fee. Other people do it. In this case, the commission was, if it was a commission, would have been well over 100% of everything that the super PAC raised. And so a couple points here to be fair to everyone involved.
Okay.
So the first thing is the super PAC is not the campaign.
To be fair to people getting 110% commission, we have to be fair. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
There's nuance.
Sure.
And the super PAC gave us this response, and also the consultant himself gave us this response. So, but first I should point out that super PACs are not campaigns, and legally they cannot coordinate. So Mayor Suarez pointed us to the PAC and said, ask them, because legally that would be what you would have to do. He shouldn't know. The second thing is that the fundraiser said he wasn't raising money for the PAC. He was actually raising money for the campaign, which is incredibly unusual. I don't want to say unheard of, but incredibly unusual, because they're not supposed to coordinate. But in this case, there was a very tricky little thing that was, one of the downfalls of Mayor Suarez's campaign for president, and that was the RNC. To get on the debate stage, you had to have 40,000 individual donors, which is a lot for someone that is not well nationally known. And there were some other requirements too. And so the argument from the PAC and from this fundraiser, Ryan Coyne, was that they were attempting to make the Suarez campaign go viral in order to raise those 40,000 donors. So while this is still an extraordinary amount of money, if you were to divide 2.2 million by 40,000, that's a lot per every donation. Their argument was this was worth it. It was absolutely necessary.
To
in
pay
order
100+%.
to meet this. The ROI was there, is the argument.
Okay, I'm sorry. Did you say the fundraiser's name is Ryan Coyne? Is that a cryptocurrency, or is that a human being?
Ryan Coyne owns a company called Starboard LLC out of Virginia. Used to be Olympic Media, and he recently, the company acquired Parler. So not Bitcoin, but one of the other tech worlds.
Sure. Okay. So, Ryan Coyne. Would you like to buy some Ryan Coyne, Roy?
No.
Okay. All right. I was just, what am I looking for?
Oros Comandro.
That's what I was looking for. Sarah Blaskey, MiamiHerald.com. There has been no dearth of spectacular characters and stories out of the city of Miami, which is just one of 34 municipalities in Dade County, certainly the largest, but like one of my favorite characters, and now who has come after me as well, is who I refer to as city attorney and mob lawyer Vicki Mendes. I call her a mob lawyer because she doesn't exactly follow the law as much as she comes up or attempts to come up with legal justifications for every corrupt or illegal thing that this city government does. And so she had a very bad week last week. And your story about her, the headline was Miami City Attorney investigated by Florida Bar over ties to alleged house flipping scheme. In the interest of full disclosure, there was 2 bar complaints that you were writing about, which we'll get into. But tell me a little bit. We've talked about on this show before this scheme that Vicki Mendes, or Tricky Vicki, as she's known in the city, and her husband have been involved in this kind of house flipping scheme that appears to prey on elderly homeowners, using the work of a county charity to kind of force them out of their house. And before the homes are ever listed, they appear to swoop in and at under market value buy them, refurbish them without ever pulling the appropriate permits, allegedly, and then flip them, sometimes like the same day or the same week or the same month, for like hundreds or even thousands of % profit. So what is this bar complaint all about?
Sure. So the city attorney in the city of Miami, Victoria Mendes, she's facing a lawsuit about exactly what you described, a situation where someone said that they weren't given the proper, context, and that she had worked behind the scenes with her husband, who runs this other company, to buy their home at below market value and then flip it and make a huge amount of profit. And the allegation is that this is an exploitative scheme. This is a corrupt practice because she has extra information. She's preying on vulnerable people. This is all spelled out in the legal complaint. And then, of course, there is the WLRN, the NPR affiliate in Miami here, who they did a fabulous investigation last year that dug into this particular program that you were mentioning about. There's a county program basically that helps people pay their bills, their medical bills and whatnot, by selling their house. If you have no other option, here's a way to pay your bills. Here's a way to get through. The argument is that the city attorney was profiting, her family was profiting off of this program. So that is also involved here. And sometime last year, someone, and we don't know who, made a complaint to the Florida Bar saying, hey, look at this lawsuit. And they started investigating. We know that was before April 9th. We don't know when it started, but before April 9th, 2023. It's been going at least that long. But the news just broke. We didn't know. And it's not actually that common for bar complaints to be made public. And certainly not at this part of the investigation, which is considered confidential. So it's unusual to find out what exactly is happening behind the scenes. In this case, it was Attorney Mendes herself who told us at the Herald that when we asked her about what the bar complaint was about, she said, well, it's about this lawsuit that was brought against me, and then also the WLRN investigation. So that's one, and I'll get to that second complaint. Well, if you want, Billy, I don't want to jump in here.
I want to make sure, because we're running out of time, that yes, that first complaint that you're talking about came to light while I was filing my own complaint against Miami City Attorney Tricky Vicki Mendes, in the interest of full disclosure. And that is as a result of the now viral Meltdown. To be fair, Tricky Vicki has been having an ongoing meltdown for like several weeks, if not months now. And in what you might remember, Roy, she called me,
"You are a vile little man."
Yes, she did.
At a city commission meeting. And so I filed that bar complaint about her lack of decorum, her unprofessional misconduct, and that was the second bar complaint that was covered in this Miami Herald article. Sarah, before we go, I do want to play a clip. That same day that you published your story last week about Vicki Mendes and the bar complaints, she appeared at a hearing in the lawsuit that we were just talking about, and continuously, repeatedly, not only interrupted the judge, who was pretty chill and mild mannered, but was interrupting her own attorney and was filibustering and making political speeches. The judge had to multiple times try to, regain kind of order and decorum in his Zoom courtroom. And here's one of those scenes.
This has been, you're trying to hurt my family, hurt me, trying to say that I did something wrong. Whatever he said at that hearing is whatever he said at that hearing. I have nothing to do with this property. I had nothing to do except doing my job. When someone calls me and asks me about a property, Your Honor, I have to answer this because it is not approved.
Now I've been forced to mute you. You refuse to stop talking when I'm trying to address you, so please listen carefully. If a witness refuses to listen to the court, not only can they be silenced, but they can be removed from the courtroom. But I did not think it was productive to remove the witness from the courtroom if she can behave herself.
You are a vile little man.
Can you hold somebody in contempt on Zoom?
Behave yourself. Hang on. I have a cart for that. Where is it?
You're goddamn right, meatball.
That's right. Meanwhile, I can relate to that. Roy's always muting my microphone.
That's true.
How can I help?
So
I am helping.
Myself? How can I help myself? Is more like it. What a scene. Just clearly, things are not going well in the city of Miami, and Sarah Blaskey is doing her best to shine a light on it all as the cockroaches scatter. And before we go, we have a top 5, Roy, with Sarah Blaskey because I don't know how she's able to narrow this down, but we have a top 5 Miami city officials that are under criminal investigation. All right.
So I gotta start here by saying we have to narrow it further than that.
Oh.
Under criminal investigation that started by the Miami-Dade SAO, so the state attorney's office. Number 1 that we know about.
Oh no, hang on. I'm sorry, rules. It's a countdown.
Rules.
It's a countdown.
We're starting at 5.
We have to start with 5. I'm sorry, it's a count up rather. Right. We're starting at 5 and working our way to number 1.
Yeah, it's a fine.
If you put garbage in, you're going to get garbage out.
Right.
Fair point. All right. So starting at 5, 4, 3, all in one go here. So 5, 4, 3 are Manolo Reyes, Alex Diaz de la Portilla, and Joe Coro. They were all the subject of a complaint by former police chief Art Acevedo. And that complaint, or that memo, I should say, was the subject of an ongoing investigation that was kicked from Miami-Dade County to the Broward SAO, basically alleging that there was a misuse of their public office. That's ongoing. We don't know what's happening. Those are 5, 4, 3. All right, on to 2. We have Alex Diaz de la Portilla. A second time, of course, he ends up behind bars briefly in an orange jumpsuit last year for a different bribery allegation. He's facing charges of bribery for that one. Since he was already named, we're going to call a second 2 here. That's also Commissioner. I get to do this. It's in the rule book.
So it's tied?
It's a tie.
There's a tie. There's a tie. There was a tie. So second number 2 is Sabina Covo. This is former Commissioner Sabina Covo. Recently, as of this past Saturday, we learned that she is also under investigation by the state attorney's office. This one for an alleged bribery kickback scheme where she was allegedly trying to solicit endorsements during the runoff race in the November election. She did not win that race. This is an open investigation. It was also kicked to Broward for conflicts of interest between some witness in this case. We're not exactly sure who, and the state attorney's office, Catherine Fernandez Brundle here in Miami. So that was 2. And number 1, our first place here, this is Miami Mayor Francis Suarez. And
Mr. Mayor,
Miami
you're
Mayor
brilliant. You were super smart.
Miami Mayor Francis Suarez started this investigation, began as an investigation into his relationship with Rishi Kapoor, a developer that had Suarez on the payroll while the mayor's office was sort of getting involved with a zoning issue. That investigation has subsequently broadened, and now it's into a lot of the mayor's side gigs throughout his tenure, including LeBatard, the company at the beginning, the tech company that was trying to partner with the company seeking city business. So that's number one.
And yet, Catherine Fernandez-Rundle, the Miami-Dade state attorney who's recused herself from all of these other investigations involving the city of Miami, has yet to recuse herself from that, which we will talk about the next time you're on the program, because this is really the crux of everything we talk about on this show, because Miami is Catherine Fernandez-Rundle, the lead prosecutor in Miami-Dade County for the last 30 years. That's 3-0 and up again for re-election this year. Roy, is there anything more fun than when someone does a top 5 for the very first time on this show? It's just chaos. It's just absolute chaos. And by the way, there are outside looking in, because, Sarah, if we broaden the horizon to be like Florida bar investigations or ethics investigations, there's even more people and more officials at the city of Miami who are under investigation. But
this is not your little Twitter account, little Billy.
So we won't get into that right now. Maybe next time. Sarah Blaskey, MiamiHerald.com. Thanks, as always, for being here.
Thank you.
Going viral this week, Roy, I don't know if you saw it. There is a Miami-Dade County Public Schools parent or legal guardian permission form.
Yeah, I saw that shit. Terrible.
So it's on screen now. The activity or event name is called Read Aloud, and the description or nature of the activity or the event is that students will participate and listen to a book written by an African American. This is, of course, Black History Month, and apparently, according to Florida state law, in the free state of Florida, by the way, Roy, you need a permission slip signed by a parent or legal guardian in order to hear a book read aloud that is written by an African American author. So when we're not banning books, we are limiting access to books written by, not just particular people, but particular races of people.
People who are not white.
I think that's the fairest way of putting that. Joining us now, Jason Garcia, friend of the show. He's an independent journalist, SeekingRentsFL.com. He covers how big business influences public policy in Florida, which is basically in every conceivable way. Isn't that right, Jason? Welcome back to the program. I think we can segue right away here. It's like, speaking of racism in the state of Florida, there is a bill actively making its way through the limited time that the Florida legislature has every year to actually do the work of the people of Florida, and that is to block the removal of Confederate monuments. And in fact, if I'm not mistaken, Jason, what does this do? This punishes people who try to remove. Yeah. What the hell is this?
Yeah, that's right. And just to give you an idea of how important it is, the Florida Senate worked late one night last week, and that was on this particular bill, which would essentially prevent cities and counties from removing publicly owned statues or other memorials that honor Confederate war figures or other supporters of slavery. And it goes so far as, if you have like a local city council person that votes to do this anyway, they get hit with a fine that they have to pay out of their like own personal funds. So it like personally penalizes anybody who tries to remove a Civil War statue.
Why?
Well, because I think the supporters. The supporters would say it's about protecting American history, not about any particular history. But what was interesting about this late night meeting is a guy actually showed up.
Roy quit. Roy's leaving.
No. They're trying to erase African American history.
That's exactly right.
System, but they want to keep the Confederacy.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, they want to ban Black history, and they want to celebrate slavery. I think that's a perfectly fair, and I would say
they want to celebrate traitors.
Yeah, absolutely. People who
that's right.
Who committed sedition, and revolution and violence against the United States and tried to destroy the United States.
Hashtag because Miami.
Jason, I'm sorry, you were saying?
That's right. And what was wild about this is because, again, the talking points from Republicans carrying this bill are about, this is about all history. We're just trying to protect history. A guy showed up at the meeting to testify in support of this bill, and he said the quiet part out loud. He said, we need this bill because we need to protect the culture war being waged on white society. And just in case there was any confusion about what he meant by this, is he was asked, are you talking about are you supporting white supremacy? And he was like, yes, I am.
We're going to do a top 5 here of like the shittiest and dumbest laws that they're wasting time in the state capital of Tallahassee right now trying to pass while all of us are suffering here. I mean, we got the insurance rates. I mean, if you can get insurance, inflation, we are like ground zero for the worst of everything in this country. And nobody seems to be doing anything about it. So the question is, Jason, what are they doing about it? Actually, I want to put this up on screen real quick. This is the Republican legislative agenda. By the way, the Republicans have a supermajority in Florida. So I don't even have to say Republicans. Like when we say legislature, it is Republicans. They run the entire state top to bottom. But there was this leaked legislative agenda, Jason, from some meeting that like nothing here really impacts our life. It says that it's their top 10 legislative priorities for 2024. And it is like disconnected entirely from like the reality of what we are living here in Florida. It's mostly culture war bullshit and distractions that affect nobody. And I guess basically it's just raw meat for their donors and base to get reelected. But we all have real problems. Their base has real problems that they're not addressing. So, Jason, let's do your top 5.
Okay, this is going to be, I thought of this as the most absurd bills because top 5 worst is just a really hard thing to do. But so number 5, murdering black bears.
Why is it got to be black bears, Jason?
Well, that's because that's the bears that are around to murder, basically. This is I'm not even joking. This is stand your ground, but for black bears. And it will allow people to shoot a black bear if they feel threatened or if they feel their home is threatened.
Can we just do ballpark here? Percentage of Floridians impacted by insurance, whether it's property insurance, car insurance, or what percentage would you say?
You know, I'm going to say you're getting pretty close to 100% with impacted by insurance.
Percentage of Floridians impacted by black bears.
I'm going to guess 1/1000th of 1/1000th of 1%.
Do you think the insurance covers the black bears' damage to the property?
That's right. Yeah, this is tort reform.
Number 4,
teaching communism to kindergartners.
I'm sorry, they can't even read books by black authors without getting 17 signatures from parents and legal guardians. What do they want to teach? Communism to kindergartners? Why?
They want to teach about the evils of communism to kindergartners. And sort of what gives away the game here is the initial version of this bill specifically said we had to teach them about cultural Marxism, which is a right-wing conspiracy theory. It's not like an actual academic.
About Jews, that basically Jews are the OG communists and we need to stop these Jews from poisoning the minds of our children. Am I wrong?
That's the root of it, yes. And so that was in the original version of this bill. And
I was reading this article on clickorlando.com with a quote from, who is it here? This is Jay Collins, the state senator, who I think filed this bill, where he says that examples of other communist movements, other than Cuba, for example, provided in the bill, include the Third Reich of Nazi Germany. Not communists, by the way. Not...
Comunista! Comunista!
And here's the quote from Collins. Frank... Yeah, sorry, Rory.
Hold on for a second. So critical race theory is a collegiate course, correct? They're trying to teach communism to kindergartners. That makes sense.
The evils of communism, because this is what the bill's filer and primary sponsor, Florida Senator Jay Collins, said, quote, "Frankly, there is no benefit to communism. It leads to the same inevitable stain on the human experience, period. Loss of life, pain, trauma, families destroyed."
Yeah, 6-year-olds will get that.
What about slavery that they don't want to teach? What about crony capitalism, which is a real threat every single day in this country, in this community? There's no communist threat in this country. Nobody wants communism. It's ridiculous. But
and Billy, you've got to be careful of a communist regime, because one of the things they might end up doing is stopping you from reading books written by black people.
Oh, and what about, big government censorship. They might tell women what they can do with their bodies and doctors what they can do for their patients. Loss of life, pain, trauma, families destroyed. What about marijuana prohibition? Is responsible for all of those things. And they don't want to have a real conversation about decriminalization or legalization of... It's so hypocritical. It's so repugnant to me, and I don't even know what number we're on. I'm so pissed about this. It doesn't make sense. If you want to talk conservative values and small government, that's what I'm talking about right now. Why is the government interceding in? I'm sorry, Jason. I don't even know that I know how to count because I'm a product of the Miami-Dade County Public
Number
School
three.
Number three, banning lab-grown meat in Florida.
Don't play this. Don't play the ta-da for that. What the hell what does that even mean? So thank you.
This bill, again, we're doing the most absurd bills. This bill is just utterly stupid. There is, a bunch of venture capital is being poured into cell cultivated meat. It's sort of seen as a way to like raise meat in a climate friendly way and without like slaughtering animals eventually. But a bunch of Republican legislators want to ban it before it can start, and it's kind of like this perfect marriage of crony capitalism to protect the beef and poultry industries, but also with like MAGA culture war, because this is basically like, don't you be bringing that hippie meat coming after my steak.
More like crony carnivorism. I mean, what, like, I don't even, that deserves something really. Priorities in the free state of Florida. Number 2, Jason.
Number 2, criminalizing homelessness.
So let me get this straight. Rents are out of control. Number 1, highest, worst housing market in the country here. I mean, while inflation has been coming down in every other state and major city in the union, here it's through the roof. Insurance through everything. People are losing their homes and out on the streets because of the incompetence and lack of attention from this government. And now it's like, well, you can't be in a house and you can't be out of a house. Like, what does this do, this bill?
Yeah, this is actually probably the most duplicitous bill of session because it doesn't technically right. It doesn't technically criminalize homelessness, but what it says is basically local governments can't let anybody sleep on public property. And the only place they can put them are in these camps. But these camps have to meet a bunch of conditions, and it provides no funding for them. And it also empowers any neighboring property owner to sue if they don't want the camp there. So it basically says, you got to round up all these homeless people, and it doesn't really tell you what to do with them. And so essentially people are going to end up in jail.
Would these be camps that effectively they could go and think about their lives? They can kind of concentrate on what it is that is, bothering them and concentrate, like concentration camps where they can just really think these things over. Do I want to know number 1, Jason, or should we just quit while we're behind?
I think we got to do number 1. We've come this far together. So number 1, rolling back child labor laws.
Well, at least my daughter can have a job now at 6 years old.
On a construction site. Well, what?
Yeah, there's apparently a class of the Florida legislature that yearns for the days of Charles Dickens, but there are actually a bunch of bills around this. One would roll back the hours kids can work and essentially allow employers to make high school kids work 40-hour work weeks while they're in school, or work a 12-hour work day the night before a school day. And then there's a separate bill, and this one is written directly by, shockingly, the home building industry, that would allow home builders to use as many 16 and 17-year-olds as they want on residential construction sites.
Well, on the upside, children can now build houses for the homeless. So everybody's
that they can't afford.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody's a winner.
That's right. The other irony we didn't talk about, obviously this is the Florida legislature, so there's a pile of bills moving to like demagogue immigrants and make their lives harder and essentially drive them out of the state. And that's what you're seeing here, right? Is they've passed a number of really anti-immigrant policies the last few years. And so you've had farm workers and construction companies particularly complaining they can't find workers. So what's the solution? Give them more kids to work.
And what's craziest, of course, is they do this under the guise of like crime prevention. But reality, immigrants are the lifeblood of the economy of not just the state of Florida, but really the country. I mean, these are quite literally jobs that no Americans want to do. And when you look at agriculture and hospitality and service industry jobs, this is where a lot of these folks are, and that is the economy of the entire state. Jason Garcia, it's always depressing to see you and to speak with you. SeekingRentsFL.com is just fantastic and compelling, and as depressing as this is, it also is incredibly interesting. I see a headline from you on social media or on your Substack every single day that makes my head just explode. Thank you for what you do. Keep it up.
Oh, thanks very much. That means a lot coming from you.
Roy, there is yet another lawsuit filed against Miami Commissioner Joe Coro.
There's more?
Of course there's more.
You're goddamn right, meatball.
And the latest one is pretty bad because this one says that when he lost that other lawsuit and was found to have violated the constitutional rights of business owners in the city and effectively violated the charter of the city of Miami, that he then violated the Citizens' Bill of Rights that calls for his immediate removal. So as soon as that other verdict was certified, he theoretically, under the city charter of Miami, should be removed from office. And at the last city commission meeting, Joe got a little visit from a process server.
#because Miami.
Cocaine's.
Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair. My name is Jose Mejia. I'm a process server, Joe Coro. I was summoned a complaint for you to have you removed from office for violating the city chair.
Sir,
you can accept service? Yes, ma'am.
Please step away from the podium. That is not on the agenda. Here. If you are here to do a service or process, please do that. Step to the side.
It's here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe Coro. Good luck.